And we are live. This is Canada Hoops Daily presents the Wrap It Up podcast. My name is Sheldon Alexander, joining you live right after the Raptors' first in-season tournament game. Lots to talk about. It wasn't a win for the Raps, but it was an interesting game. They fought back. They made it, competitive. At least Siakam did. Great performance from Pascal tonight, but a tough one overall. Lots to talk about on this one as the in-season tournament kicks off for the Toronto Raptors and in Toronto in general. Drake stopping by to do some promo for his album that he just dropped last night. Haven't listened to it yet, but people let me know. But either way, we are here to wrap up and talk some basketball as we always are. After each and every Toronto Raptors game, you ever looking for us? Know that you can find this podcast live and interactive after every Toronto Raptors game. Two places you can watch us live. One is on YouTube. Just follow the Canada Hoops Daily page. Make sure you subscribe there. You get a notification every time we pop up live. Or you can follow us on Twitter at Can Hoops Daily. Those are the two places where you can watch us live and interact with the show. Send in your comments and questions because we always appreciate that. Because this is your show. This show is about the community of Raptors fans, the fan base, the We the North Nation that supports this squad no matter what. We're here for the diehards, wins, losses, and everything else in between. Guess there's no ties, right? There's nothing in between. Anyways, you get the point of what I'm saying. Crazy game tonight for the Toronto Raptors. As mentioned, they lose 108 to 105. A difficult one. A tough one, but I feel like at least coming off of the last performance that the Raptors had against Boston, if you remember, that was just last week, right? Didn't go too well, to say the least. Didn't go too well the last time against the Celtics. So this time around, at least there was some fight. At least there was some resistance. At least they showed up and just didn't allow Boston to punk them, because that's what's exactly happened last week against the Boston Celtics in Boston. Raptors got run out of the gym. They didn't show any heart. They didn't show anything at all. And they just got beat. This game, a tough second quarter, a very tough second quarter. And that's pretty much the ball game, right? That's how the Raptors lose this game. That second quarter is where everything flipped. 39-17 is where the Raptors were outscored in that second quarter. And that turned the game. That and Pascal Siakam's foul trouble. Spectacular game from Pascal. And it's interesting. If only Scotty Barnes and Pascal could figure out, playing well in the same game, might be interesting for the Raps. They might have something cooking there. I'm being facetious, obviously, because the biggest story going on with this team all season long is going to be Pascal Siakam or Scotty Barnes long term. I'm saying that because Pascal still doesn't have a contract beyond this season. Story for another day and every day throughout the Raptor season. But as of tonight, great game by Pascal. Dealing with the foul trouble, comes back in the game and just leads the squad back. Great performance from Pascal. But let's go through the whole game. For those who are new to the pod, what we do here, I'll go through, give my recap of what happened in the game, give you my takes, give you what I thought, give you, a little bit of information that I might have gained throughout watching that game. Just my opinion. Doesn't mean much. Just what it is, But on the flip side, I'll go through the comments and questions. So you guys have tons of time to let me know what you think. Let the people know what you think. And then we read the comments. And that's what this show is. Live and interactive after each and every Toronto Raptors game. Thank you for liking and subscribing. And also a reminder, if you ever miss a show live, don't worry. We got you covered. Just make sure you follow along, follow, rate us, review us, all that fun stuff on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Just search Canada Hoops Daily. Big news also on the way coming as well for the Canada Hoops Daily brand. More importantly, the Wrap It Up podcast. More info on that coming up. More information. That's a bit of a tease, so stick around. Stick around for that. But in terms of this game, Boston Celtics, first off, I want to know what people think of the in-season tournament in general. This was the first game the Raptors have played in the in-season tournament. And it's funny, they mentioned the fact that, is it Memphis is already eliminated from the in-season tournament? before the Raptors had even played a game. Yeah, that's a thing. It's pretty funny. But I wonder overall what people's thoughts are on the in-season tournament. There's so much talk and so much like negativity about like the courts and the jerseys. And I'm just going to give some people a word of advice here. The courts and the jerseys, if you don't like them, like that's okay. But just know that those things weren't made for you. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like the courts are for the kids playing the video games and all that, where you can customize your courts and do all that. You know, the jerseys are for the video game. Like it's not for me. It's not for us. And it's also not for like the diehard just basketball purist that is most likely going to watch the game anyways. Do you know what I mean? It's not for that. It's for the person who might look up, be like, what's that court? What's going on? And in fact, I'll double down on that point in terms of the in-season tournament. We live in the attention culture right now. Anything that can get a click, anything that will get your attention, anything that will distract you from whatever you were doing previously, that is the trick. That is the trend. So putting up these flashy courts on the screen and getting you to stop on a game at the end of November that most of the time people would not be paying attention to at all. They'd be paying attention to the NFL or paying attention to whatever. Again, I'm not talking about the diehards. I'm talking about the casual fans, right? Not the people who are already watching. That's the point of all these things that they're doing for the in-season tournament. Now, beyond that, the basketball part of it, if you like basketball, why wouldn't you be into basketball that matters? And you might say, well, why does it matter? It's just regular season. Well, there's $500,000 at stake for each player if you win said tournament. The coaches also get a pay bump as well. They get a little extra cash if their team wins the in-season tournament as well. And Dame Lillard said a couple nights ago, he was like, you know, cool. We know that he makes a lot of money, but he said there's guys on the team that are on like two-way contracts. That $500,000 can change their lives. That matters. So the other part of all this is, okay, so the qualification games, right? Like these games, the games that the Raptors just played, the round robin portion of it, right? It might take a little bit for like that first game to matter or that second game to matter. But once you get to the stakes of like, oh, we need to win this game to possibly move on, that's going to matter. The players are going to play hard. And then, of course, once you get to the knockout stage, you can't tell me guys aren't going to care. Guys aren't going to play hard. And in fact, a couple nights ago, because the tournament runs on Tuesdays and Fridays during the month of November, right? And on Tuesday, there was like NBA scuffles like I've never seen before, all on one night. Like there's added juice, and I don't know what the reason for that was. There's no like scientific or mathematical equation to prove that it's because it was the in-season tournament. I don't know. But in at least 3 games, obviously headlined by your man's Draymond doing the most as always, choking out Rudy Gobert. But there's a lot of spice in the air for these games. And again, if you like basketball, I don't see what the problem is. Even look at this game, right? The Raptors got blown out by the Celtics less than a week ago. And in this game, they kept it close. And all these little things that they're doing in terms of having point differential matter, that's cool. That's a good idea. I also think that I was talking to my boy AB earlier today, and he's like, what's the deal with this in-season tournament anyways? And he's a big soccer guy. I'm like, it's like Champs League. And it was that simple, right? Because he's asking, wait, what's this game tonight? So they're playing Boston, but it's the first game of the tournament. Like, what is that? I'm like, it's just like Champs League group stage. And he's like, oh, okay. And that was it. Like, it's really not that complicated, right? You're in a group, you play every other team in the group, top seed moves on to the knockout stage. Knockout stage, you win, you keep going on in the tournament. You lose, you continue playing regular season games. It's really not that complicated, and I think it's a great idea to have us talking about the NBA in a different way and like stakes being involved in late November, where we know that the headlines right now or what everyone will be talking about is just Joe Burrow being hurt and out for the season, which people are talking about. But a little further down the line, you're going to talk about the NBA as well because stuff is guanin'. Drake even showed up. Imagine that. I know I took us off on a little tangent before talking about the actual game, but I think it's important to talk about the in-season tournament and just what it is, because there's been so much talk, and the talk just centers around the jerseys and the courts, and I think that's just the end point. And I like that when you turn on your TV and you see the courts a little different, it tells you, it gives you a little extra like, oh, okay, this matters a little more. This is cool. Something's happening here. And I like that. Now, the counter to all of this is they're doing a lot here just to make the players try, which I agree is, kind of crazy because, the players get paid millions of dollars and you shouldn't have to entice them to try hard every game. But here we are. Would you rather them not try to change things and shake things up? And I'm always for trying something and figuring it out along the way. Maybe it works. Maybe you stumble upon something. The other important part, as I segue this back to the Raptors, if you are a team like the Toronto Raptors, in which winning an NBA championship might not be in your future this season, the in-season tournament's a really good thing that you can play with some stakes, play with some extra oomph, get your team up for close games and games that matter and key possessions down the stretch. What's wrong with that? I think that's a good thing. And you can't tell me that if the Raptors were to be in like the semifinals of this in Vegas, that Raptors fans wouldn't care, that the players wouldn't care, that we wouldn't be hyping it up. Like, that'd be awesome. And again, trophies. Who doesn't like trophies? Drake even made a song about it. Okay, promise that's the last time. No, that's a lie. It's definitely not the last time I'll mention Drake in this pod. But the point remains, in-season tournament, I like it. I like the NBA trying stuff. I like the NBA trying to mix it up and not be different, and not be the same, right? Like, it's always evolving, trying new things. I'm here for it. Again, 108-105, the Celtics win as they improve their record in the in-season tournament to 2-0 in the group. The Raptors fall to 0-1 in the group. They still have 3 games left within said group. They play on Tuesday against the Orlando Magic. And yeah, the Raptors, you got a good shot in this. And again, losing to the Celtics by only 3 is key. If you can go out and beat Orlando by a lot of points, that point differential matters because the top seed in every group moves on, and then there's a wild card. And the wild card is based on like what the next stat over is, the next best team. And so point differential matters in terms of tiebreakers. So you want to get buckets. Losing to the Celtics by 3, hey, sometimes there are moral victories, right? Jaylen Brown had 23 points in this game. Jason Tatum with 17. Kristaps Porzingis with 14 and 12. Pascal Siakam for the Raps with 23. Let's go through things here. I'll try to speed through and just go through what happened in this game. The Raptors, it was kind of tough for them, right? Because coming into this game, the last 6 games, they were losing after the first quarter, just not getting off to good starts. And as you know, they've had massive 20-plus point comebacks as of late. And the fact that you have to come back from 20-something down tells you that you were down big in the first half. So getting off to a good start, starting on time, is something that I was talking about a lot on the last pod. And I said it comes down to your stars. This was a tough one, though, because Pascal Siakam, who was playing really well to start the game, got in foul trouble really quickly. But in terms of the Raps overall as a team, they got a big boost because Gary Trent Jr. was back into the lineup tonight. And I thought he looked really good early on. He was shooting threes. He was confident. And over the last few years of having Gary Trent Jr. on the Raptors, the one thing that's apparent to me is that when he knows that he's getting minutes, he plays a lot better. And even when he comes off the bench, right? The minutes, like there's not a solid rotation, and then there's been injuries, so there's not really a rhythm to the rotation yet. But he seems to struggle in that role. But when he starts, and even going back to last year and the year before, I always thought the best success Gary Trent Jr. had is when one of the main guys was out of the lineup for something. And if you remember the last few years of Raptors basketball, there's always somebody out, right? Like someone was dealing with a nagging injury, whether it was Pascal, whether it was Fred, whether it was OG, whether it was Scotty, whatever it was, just missing a game here and there. And when you were able to insert Gary Trent Jr. into the starting lineup, he performed. In tonight's game, he came out nice early. He was gunning. He was shooting the ball with confidence and in rhythm. And to start that game, he's making threes, but the way that he was shooting it, right? It was just with confidence. Raps were 3 of 5 from 3 to start the game, which coming off their last game in which they shot like 30% from 3, like it was just atrocious their last game. This was a good start for the Toronto Raptors. The turning point came very early where Pascal got called for his third foul. Raptors were up at that point, 24-18. He has to sub out. They tried to challenge it, and it was just a tough call because Kristaps really sold it when he fell to the ground. Was it a foul? I think so. I think it was a foul. It's just tough because it's his third one. And you would hope, and this is like the inside, like this might be too inside for some people, but you would hope that at a certain point, a referee isn't going to call that third foul on a star player. You're going to let that one slide. Just make it a play on because it's not impacting the game, but you giving the star player his third foul impacts the game. Now, I'm saying you would like that to happen, but at the same time, you can't, it's a tough ask, you know what I'm saying? And you guys know me. I'm not one to be begging for the refs to do anything here, but tough play early, tough start for the Raps. As it moved on, though, Darko continues to he said it from the start of the season. We are now 12 games into the year, and he's still rolling heavy with the bench, even with OG still being out, even when OG and Gary Trent Jr. were out. Darko wasn't hesitating to go to his bench, and I mean full bench. So he had a bench unit at one point, and it didn't last long. But at one point, looking up at the screen and seeing Malachi Flynn, Grady Dick, McDaniels, Boucher, and Precious, that's the lineup. You're kind of like, okay, I wonder how long we're going to let this rock for, right? Luckily, Scotty came in soon, quick after. But by that point, the run had started for Boston. Hauser's wetting threes, and that guy's just a knockdown shooter. I don't know much about him. I just see him knock down threes all the time. I did see Joe Mazzulla talking about how people think he's just a shooter, but he's so much more because he didn't say this, but he kind of insinuated it that people just assume because it's the white guy in the corner hitting all the threes that he's like not a defender and he's just a shooter, but he's more than that. I got to say, like I've seen Hauser now a couple times because I watched the Boston games as well against Philly. And my guy, like, he's not out of place. He's not just like he wets threes, but it's not like he's being hunted at the other end. You have that thing where guys that don't know will try. They'll try to go at him because they're making the assumption and they don't know. But, it's not like you're watching him get abused on defense and then they got to sub him back out. He more than holds his own in terms of getting bench minutes on a really good team. And most importantly, he wets threes. The Raptors, though, despite that, they win the first quarter and led 32-26 after one. Gary Trent Jr. had 9, Pascal with 8 points. And to start the second quarter, this is where things went downhill for the Raps, as Drew Holiday was just cooking. I've long said that Drew Holiday is one of the most underrated guys in the league. And it's because his game's not flashy. His offensive game is not flashy. And sometimes the shots off from 3, even when he's driving and he's doing like the turnaround, Jimmy's in the lane. It might not look pretty, but it's efficient. Then you add in the defense, right? And making the opposing guards work the entire game. And you find out that this dude is legit. Now, obviously, I'm saying this because it goes back to when the Bucks traded for him. And there's a lot of talk about really like that's the move. That's what you think is going to be good enough for Giannis. And I mean, it was because they won a championship and Drew Holiday was pretty damn good in that run to the championship. And now he ends up on Boston. And I said this on the last pod when we were talking about the Boston Celtics game last week when the Raps got blown out. This Boston team is really good offensively. I don't know what the team is that's going to beat them. And you could even argue that last year against the Heat, yeah, the Heat won for sure, but Boston, they fumbled that bag super hard, right? To lose to the Miami Heat in the conference finals. You go back the year before and Boston in the finals versus the Warriors, you could argue they fumbled that bag very well in that series too. So what I'm saying is Boston's been right there already. And now you bring in Drew Holiday and Kristaps to, like, if they stay on the floor, that team, man, it's weapons. Like Jaylen Brown and Tatum, they're pretty good 3-point shooters, but now like those shots are like wide open shots. And Tatum didn't even shoot the three well in this game at all, and they still won because you have other guys that can get buckets for you when you're not going. And I mean, at that point, the Celtics started the second quarter on a 12-2 run. Jaylen Brown was wetting threes. Holiday was still hot. The Raptors started the quarter 5 of 17 from the floor. And another 8-0 run by the Celtics was capped by a dunk from Jason Tatum. Tatum was 1 of 7 in the first half. Well, to start the game from 3, 1 of 7. And that 1-3 obviously would come at the buzzer of halftime, capping a 15-3 run. Raptors were down 65-49 at the half. Outscored in that quarter 39-17. When stuff like that is happening and you're the Raps, that's where you're figuring out your bench unit, right? Like when you're struggling in the second quarter, for the most part, you're going to get bench minutes. That's when the bench is involved. Raptors still haven't figured out their bench, and it's tough when OG's not there because now you're removing, obviously, Gary Trent from said bench. And it's tough because I look at that unit and I think they keep trying to make Scotty in the bench a thing, but I feel like you need another guard or another starter out there, meaning like there should always be, and I even think this is a case when OG's in the lineup too, but there should always be 2 of Scotty, Pascal, OG, and Dennis Schroeder on the floor at all times. You shouldn't have Scotty in the bench out there. It's just too much. And also, Scotty is not yet that guy that like kind of understands the flow of the game in terms of when he has to go and when he has to go downhill and get buckets, and when, I can pass the ball and like run the offense and, kick it over to the corner and pass it to Precious at the 3-point line. And it's like, no. When you're out there with Grady, Boucher, Precious, like you got to go. Like it's on you. They'll eat off of your scraps, but you got to go and get busy, especially when Pascal's not there. And that's a part that's kind of, it'll take some time. Scotty's young. He's figuring it all out, and in this era where we're rushing to make him the face of the franchise and hand him the keys to the team and be like, he's that dude. It's like, whoa, slow down. There's still a ways to go. We still got to, he's learning, he's growing, he's maturing. Like you got to slow down on a lot of these things, right? And notice the big thing is when you're getting your points, it's not about the stat sheet at the end of the game. It's about when you're getting those points. And speaking of, in said third quarter, Siakam comes back into the game as obviously he missed most of the first half with foul trouble. Raptors go on a 9-0 run, and everyone started to play a little bit better, right? Scotty had a massive dunk. Dennis Schroeder was hitting shots all over the place. He had 5 threes in this game, I think it was Schroeder had. And Schroeder, after some slow games, he's 5 of 11 from 3. And again, we're up there with the amount of 3-point shots, but it's a trap, right? Because at a certain point, you're open for a reason. And the way that a lot of teams are going to guard the Raptors is they're going to pack the paint and they're going to try to stop Scotty and Pascal from getting in the lane, which means there's going to be a lot of guys open at the 3-point line, and you're going to be tempted to shoot them. But I say proceed with caution, right? Like I mean, is that the Raptors' strength? I feel like I come on this pod more talking about successful Raptors games when they're dominating things in the paint and they're taking the ball inside and getting downhill. And Siakam and Scotty are getting busy in the paint. Just saying, just my observations. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. As mentioned, though, Raptors go on a 9-0 run. They cut to Fat Joe and Drake. Why is Fat Joe in Toronto? What's going on? Is there some show that I don't know about? We know obviously Drake released an album, so he's been, on promo run. But why is Fat Joe here? I didn't get an answer on that. Have people found that out yet? Let me know. Let me know. Raptors, meanwhile, I mentioned the points in the paint. They had 24 points in the paint in the first half. Siakam leaves the game. That stops. Siakam comes back. He starts getting busy. And he was showing off the full game. Like he was spinning in the baseline, getting layups, hitting the jimmies in the paint. Pascal had 15 points in that third quarter. He was cooking. 22-8 start by the Raptors in that third quarter. They were going to work. Siakam was getting in the lane, and as Boston tried to send help, he was kicking it out, found Schroeder, who continued to cook from three. They came all the way back, and it was inspired basketball again from Pascal Siakam, who's played really well the last couple games. And you might say, okay, so what's the difference between Pascal Siakam when the Raptors are down big and Scotty Barnes when the Raptors are down big? And I'm going to tell you the difference is Pascal Siakam was out of the game because of foul trouble. Pascal Siakam started the game really well, and then he left the game, and then the Raptors are losing big. When I'm talking about Scotty Barnes, I'm saying he needs to start getting some buckets early in the game. Set the tone early in the first quarter, early in the first half. When he gets those minutes in the second quarter, when it's him in the bench, he needs to start taking over those minutes and scoring those buckets. When do you get your points? How do you impact the game? How do you impact the flow of the game and winning? And Pascal definitely left his imprint on this game because he brought the Raptors all the way back, cut the lead to 1, found Yak with the lay-in for 2, and that gave the Raps the lead. But you're playing a great team like the Boston Celtics, and it's just tough. And the reason why it's so tough is because you exert so much energy to come back in the game that when you get there, you're going to need more to get over the hump, but you might not have all that energy. You might need someone else to step up and help you get over that hump. But also, when you're doing that against a team that has so many weapons, it's going to be tough to do. And that's the position the Raptors found themselves in because they would get a bucket, take the lead, and then Boston just had Derek White hitting threes, or Jaylen Brown would hit a shot. Tatum would miss another 3. Didn't matter. Al Horford would knock down a 3. And when that's happening, it's like Al Horford's the last guy out. He's a 5th guy out there, right? 5th option by a lot. And if you're playing good defense and the ball gets swung around to Al Horford, that's what you'd want to happen if you're the defense. Problem is, he's pretty okay at knocking down open threes. And that's what makes it tough to beat a team like Boston. Like, you have to almost play perfect basketball in winning time and down the stretch to come back and win. And the Raptors almost did. They almost did, right? Like, they gave up 39 points in that second quarter and only 19 points in the third. They outscored Boston 34-19 in the third. The lead was just 84-81 after 3. Scotty in the bench came out to start the fourth quarter, and he's out there again with Grady, Malachi, Precious, and Boucher. And again, in those minutes, that's got to be Scotty's time. Siakam came in soon after because obviously he could play more minutes in the second half because he didn't play in the second quarter because of foul trouble, right? So he had a little more minutes at his disposal to use. So he comes in quickly. Him and Scotty start getting it going. Scotty knocks down a 3. He was yelling at somebody. He was doing the Scotty Barnes thing where he finally hits a shot, but then he's screaming for some reason. I'm not really sure. I'd like to know what's going on there. But the Celtics would just hit threes, and no matter who it was. And then what the tough part is they go to their bench and they have Hauser. But then they come back and it's Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or Derek White or Kristaps Porzingis. And like the Raps would try to switch things on the perimeter, and then Kristaps would just get the ball in the paint. And once he realized that like he could just turn around and shoot over anyone, it was tough. Malachi Flynn played all right. He hit a 3 in this game in winning time. I thought that was huge. Raptors took the lead on a great pass from Pascal. And the game was only close because Pascal brought the energy, right? Pascal had a massive bucket to give the Raptors a lead at 101-99 before Tatum missed a 3. He was 1 for 11 from 3 to start the game. Kristaps, as mentioned, it was just Kristaps in the paint late. The Raptors had no answers. Down the stretch, Dennis Schroeder, who played all right, but in winning time, he misses. Come down the floor the other end. Derek White splashes a corner 3, and that was the difference in the game. This was a game right down to the wire, and I feel like if you're the Raptors, and I keep saying this, right, because it's not about moral victories, and I get that, like that chirp, and it's kind of a cop-out, people might say, but I keep reminding people about what your realistic expectations are for this team this season. And you got to be real about that. And you gave the Celtics a good go in a game where Siakam battled through foul trouble. He was able to come back and have a pretty solid game, lead the team back. And, Raptors had a chance to win this game in winning time. And Derek White, again, Celtics run good offense. They had wide open shooter in the corner, and White's ready to shoot that. He's confident in shooting that. And these guys are battle tested. Obviously, they went all the way to the conference finals last year and obviously the NBA finals the year before. So White's ready. He's played big time minutes. He knocks down the 3, take the lead. Scotty Barnes had a chance to tie it on a pretty good play. I think someone fell on the Celtics side and Scotty had a wide open 3 to tie it, but he missed it. And that's okay. You want him to be in those situations where he has to take that shot. Because a couple possessions earlier, there's a scenario where the Raptors were down 3 and there's a bit of hot potato going on, right? Like nobody really wanted to shoot the 3. Nobody really knew what to do. And, I was happy that moment happened at the end of the game where it forced Scotty, no, like you have to take the shot right now. Because that's how you learn. That's how you develop. That's how you become the star player that everyone wants you to be, right? So again, a close game. Raptors go down to the Boston Celtics. They lose as the first game of their regular season tournament, in-season tournament sked. Wow, tongue twister, right? They got to come up with a name for this. Like it's got to be like the Michael Jordan tournament or something like that. I don't know. But they got to figure out something because an in-season tournament, that just sounds trash. And they're going to sell it to a sponsor. So it's going to be like the blank in-season tournament. And it's like, that's an even worse name. They got to come up with something like the something cup, the David Stern Cup or something like that. Right? No? Wouldn't that be cool? Or you could call it Adam Silver's still there. So he's not going to name the tournament after himself. But if you called it the Silver Cup, that would work. Make the trophy silver. And the NBA trophy, the championship trophy, still gold. Kind of makes sense, right? I don't know. Throwing stuff out there. You guys let me know if you have any other ideas. But again, a pretty solid game for the Raptors on a Friday night in Toronto. Game 1 of their in-season tournament sked. They got 3 more games left. They play on Tuesday. That's their next in-season tournament game, which, for the record, in case I didn't mention that, also counts towards the regular season as well, which is the other great part of this. But Raptors still got a busy weekend ahead of them as they play Sunday at 4 p.m. against the Detroit Pistons. That hopefully should be a win for the Raps. Hopefully OG Anunoby is back in the lineup, although it's not really looking good because he's just been doubtful the last few days. And all the reports coming out of practice have him just doing drills and shooting with his left hand. So that doesn't sound too good. It's just, it's just such a tough one, man. Like trying to get me to pay you millions of dollars and millions of dollars. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I hope OG comes back soon. I really do, because the Raps need him. They need his defense. You need him to throw out there if you're going to guard, um, Tatum or Brown for sure. And yeah, tough times in Raptor land. I want to throw out a warning too to Raptors fans. Here's a lesson, okay? The Zach LaVine stuff. I'm not saying that the Raptors aren't in the Zach LaVine, I'm not saying the Raptors haven't reached out because I don't know that, right? The point I'm trying to make though here is that anybody who does content, basketball content, if you do content about the NBA, you know that if you throw out the Raptors name with any rumor, you get more engagement. That is my warning to Raptors fans. Every time something comes up and then you just switch over and then it's like the next NBA player that's available in the trade, it's like, oh, Raptors are interested. It's like you realize that like Shams and these guys can just throw that out there, right? Because there's like, what's the harm? And if you're the Raptors, like you don't really care, like whether you're in it or not. You want it to sound like you're in the mix of all these things, right? I don't know. Do people really want Zach LaVine? Like, who's Zach LaVine? What has Zach LaVine done? Does Zach LaVine make the Raptors better? How much better does Zach LaVine make the Raptors? And what are you giving up to get Zach LaVine? And how did I end up here talking about Zach LaVine after trying to tell people to not talk about Zach LaVine? Oh, man. What a pod, what a pod, what a time, what a time. The Raptors fall to the Boston Celtics 108-105 in their in-season tournament debut. I'm just checking to see here if there's any talk about what happened at the end of the game. Darko says, because if you're watching the end of the game, you notice that Scotty Barnes was unable to get in the game. He was standing at the scorer's table for a long time. There was no stoppage in play from the 4:32 mark to the 27-second mark. So that whole time, Scotty Barnes is trying to sub in, and there's just no stoppage. And it's tough because if you're Darko, you're in a very close game and you want to save your timeouts. So do you spend a timeout to get Scotty back in the game? It's a tough one, right? It's a tough one. And the fact that the Raptors lost the game, it's easy to be like, oh, well, you should have gotten him in the game sooner. It's like, I don't know. They're flowing well. They're playing well. Like, that's not why they lost this game. I don't think anyways. But hey, interesting times for the Toronto Raptors. We'll be back on Sunday to talk about the Detroit Pistons. And then again, of course, on Tuesday for the next in-season tournament battle. I'm going to get to some comments here. I see all the people, huge shouts to people in the chat. Just a reminder, the only places you'll be able to watch this pod soon will be on the Canada Hoops Daily feed on YouTube and the Can Hoops Daily feed on Twitter. If you're watching this somewhere else right now, it's not going to be there long. So make sure you log on and sign up, subscribe to Canada Hoops Daily on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to the regulars always getting us going here. And we got a first comment here that says, this was a good game. We should have won. If only Pascal played a little longer. I mean, it's a tough one for sure because Pascal had it going early. And it definitely took him out of rhythm. It took the rotation out of a rhythm as well for Darko. And when you're already shorthanded, you definitely need your stars that you do have left. So it's a tough one for sure. Ruben says, I hope Gary starts over Scotty and Scotty. Oh, wow. I do hope Gary starts over Scotty, and Scotty should have taken over the backup PG role with Malachi as a side guard. But it's tough because Scotty brings very good help D. Yeah, Scotty Barnes is never coming off the bench. That's just like, that's gone. If you remember what happened last year, people might not remember this, but last year, was it last year or the year before? Was it his rookie year when Scotty started off really well and then he started to slow down a little and then he got hurt. He missed a couple games, and his first game back, they had him coming off the bench and he wasn't very happy about it. Like in the post game, you could tell that he definitely was not having that, was not happy about it at all. And yeah, I think we're beyond that talk if Scotty Barnes is going to come off the bench for the Toronto Raptors. Clearly, their plan is to run a lot of things through Scotty Barnes. And the fact that Pascal and OG are still unsigned beyond this season sort of tells you the faith that they have in Scotty Barnes and the signs and the overall signs that you're telling him, hey, this is kind of your show right now going forward. What else do we got? I would like to challenge Darko for not playing Pascal in the first half. Also, those bench moments were a little longer than expected. Yeah, the full bench unit is probably not something that we want to see that often. And yeah, as I said earlier, I'd go back to, we should have units where two of your starters are on at the same time, especially when you're dealing with the lack of depth because OG's not there. You gotta have, you can't have Pascal, Gary Trent, and Schroeder all on the bench at the same time. That's a tough one. It's a very tough one. Let's see. Good point. Drew Holiday reminds me of OG. Sorry, I gotta step in there. Drew Holiday is a lot better than OG Anunoby. Right? That's not the same player at all. Two different things. Drew Holiday, putting up buckets in the playoffs, getting busy in the playoffs. He had some bad scoring games as well, but he also had playoff games that he won for the Milwaukee Bucks. He had defensive plays that won them the championship, if we remember correctly, right? That's a lot different than anything OG Anunoby has done, especially come playoff time, right? OG's playoff resume beyond the shot that he hit, the 0.3 shot, that's tough. And Drew Holiday's an all-star, multiple time all-star, right? That's different weight class. But I see the point. You're just talking about someone who impacts the game on defense, right? And Drew Holiday's been an all-NBA defender multiple times as well, too, which OG probably should be. And, he just started. So maybe there's more to come at that point. A lot of talk here about trades. Would like to see us trade for Lou Dort. I think OKC really likes Lou Dort. I don't think I don't really think that's a thing. Also, I think the Raptors, if you're going to trade for a guard, you probably need a guard you would hope for a guard that's a better shooter than Lou Dort from three, right? Just a style. I feel like you kind of already have that guy in terms of OG, right? And in terms of what Lou Dort brings. They're kind of the same type of dude. Aisha says Zach LaVine is negative energy. Yeah, the Bulls are such a funny case study, right? They had a team meeting, players only meeting after the first game of the year. Do you know how messed up your locker room has to be to have a team meeting after the first game of the season? So strange. So strange. So strange. But it's not strange. All of you deciding to spend your Friday nights with me here on the Wrap It Up podcast. And you know what? I appreciate y'all for doing that. Even when the Raptors lose a game, y'all are here rocking with me and riding out because the Raptors fan base is loyal. I said I was teasing an announcement. There'll be more info on the way, but just know we will be doing a live watch party coming soon in Toronto. I'll have more information soon. If you are interested, make sure you hit either comment section on YouTube or wherever you're watching this podcast right now, or message me directly on Twitter. But just know we are going to do a live watch party at the end of this month in a couple weeks. So get ready, kids. More details on the way soon. But this is what we call a tease. So let me know if you're interested at all in the comments, and, we'll sort you out. We'll give you the heads up. We'll give you the advance info. But until then, until there's more information, that just means you got to stay tuned and make sure that you follow all the accounts. That would be at Canada Hoops Daily on Instagram, at Can Hoops Daily on Twitter, or you can follow me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube to the Canada Hoops Daily page, as that is where you will be able to get this podcast live after each and every Toronto Raptors game. We'll be here talking Raps, talking hoops, and general NBA, taking your questions about anything else y'all want to talk to as talk about as well. And if you ever miss the pod, just know you can catch the podcast on Apple and on Spotify. Again, Canada Hoops Daily. Notice a trend there. Huge shouts to the Canada Hoops Daily team, working hard behind the scenes to get the website up, coming soon. More info on that in the months to come for sure. Lots going on. And I want to shout out the Canada Hoops Daily people behind the scenes because they're the reason that this Wrap It Up podcast is back. And you know what? So are you, the listeners. And I appreciate that. So thank y'all for tuning in. We will be back soon to do this all over again on Sunday as the Raptors take on the Detroit Pistons. Do I have that right? I've said that twice. And then as I've said it, I'm like, wait, am I positive? Yes, it is a Detroit Pistons on Saturday. Should be more confident in myself, right? But the Raptors also need to be more confident in themselves as they almost come back and win this game as they fall 108-105 to the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum with 17 points as he struggled from three. He missed about 10 threes in this game. Jaylen Brown with 23 points for the Boston Celtics. On the Raptors side of things, Pascal Siakam leading the way with 23 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. And, you know, he dealt with foul trouble. That was a big issue there for Pascal in this one as the Raptors struggled in the non-Pascal minutes. Also on the Raptors side of things, Dennis Schroeder with the massive game. He had 23 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists for him. Jakob Poeltl doing his thing with 11 points, 8 rebounds. Scotty Barnes, couple he came out hot. He came out gunning to start the season. And the last 4 or 5 games haven't really been at the same clip. But the clip that he started at, that was tough. And if anyone expected him to stay at that clip for the whole season, that's a tough ask on the kid, man. Remember, he's young. He's growing. He's maturing. He's learning the rigors of the NBA and the NBA season, so you got to take the good with the bad. And tonight was a 5 of 13 night, 2 of 6 from 3, 14 points overall, 6 assists for your man, Scotty. It was a tough one for him. And a tough one for the Raptors overall as they lose their first in-season tournament game to the Boston Celtics, 108-105. Again, my name is Sheldon Alexander, and as I always say, I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this. This is a Canada Hoops Daily Presents Wrap It Up podcast. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.